Welcome to Cora's Cottage, where things are homegrown and handmade. I started my journey in town on a small city lot where I grew a garden and preserved most of what I grew. While I was in town, I continued to learn kitchen and other homemaking skills. However, recently, my husband and I have had the opportunity to move out into the country. This means we have more space, and I will be expanding my garden and preservation skills this summer. I want to continue to expand my homesteading and homemaking skills as well. Follow along with me on this journey as I share what I learn. Recently, my daughter had her first birthday party, and I wanted to make her a tassel banner. So I set about doing this by buying 5 different colors of yarn, finding a book about the size that I wanted the tassels to be, a pair of scissors, and a crochet hook, though you wouldn't necessarily need the crochet hook. To make each individual tassel, I would wrap the yarn around the book, as you can see here, until I had it about the thickness that I wanted. I did 60 to 70 wraps and cut my yarn. However, you could do less or more depending on how thick or thin you wanted your individual tassels to be. After cutting my tassel end off, I then took the yarn and made 2 smaller lengths of yarn. These are about 12 to 15 inches long. You don't need them to be overly long, but long enough that you can tie off your tassel. Next, you're going to slide your wrapped yarn off of your book. One thing to note is that you shouldn't wrap your yarn too tight, like I did here, because it can be a struggle to get it off of the book. Next, you're going to take one of your shorter lengths of yarn and thread it through your tassel and make a knot. This is going to be the top of your tassel and will allow you to attach it to whatever you desire, whether that be a banner or something else. It is a little bit easier to make this knot with 2 people because it does need to be good and tight, but it certainly can be done with 1 person, as I do here. Now that you have the top of your tassel nice and secure, you're going to clip the bottom so you have a true tassel rather than just a loop of yarn. Then you're going to lay your tassel over the second piece of short yarn and tie another knot. This gives a ball at the top of the tassel, giving it a little extra flair. Make sure you get this knot nice and tight too. Once you have your knot made, you're going to take your tails and wrap them around the bottom of the ball at the top of the tassel. You're going to wrap until you have the desired thickness that you want, and then you're going to take the tails and you're going to pull them through. This is where the crochet hook can really come in handy. If you take it up through the bottom and grab the yarn, just wrap it around a couple times, it pulls right through and blends into the tails of the rest of the tassel, and you don't even notice they're there. Now all that's left to do is to give your tassel a haircut. You're going to want to cut all of the ends until they're even. You can cut it even shorter if you desire. This is why it's so important to make sure that you're picking a book that is plenty wide enough. You can always make your tassel shorter, but it's really hard to make it longer. For the tassel banner, I just rinsed and repeated the process several more times. In fact, I did it 9 more times. I made 2 tassels of each color: yellow, purple, pink, blue, and green. Shortly after my daughter's birthday, we moved from our house in town out into the country. This meant that everything needed moved, including all of my canned goods from last summer. My husband took the shelf from our old basement and repurposed it to fit into this closet. It just needed some new legs. He used plywood and 2x4s. Then I took all of our old labels that we had and washed them off. We used chalk paint so that we could relabel every single year without too much hassle. The one thing that I would do differently is I would sand the boards before we chalk painted them, but I was in a hurry to get them into the basement, and so my hubby skipped this step. Boy, do I wish I would have been more patient and let him do it like he wanted. Up next is moving all of these jars into this shelving unit. One thing I will say is that moving jars is not the most fun task in the world and does require some sturdy containers to get the job done. Thankfully, we had lots of metal and wooden crates that we were able to use, and we didn't move very far, so we could reuse them since it took a couple different trips to get all of the jars moved with those items. Thankfully, we were able to make the whole move without a single broken jar. Praise the Lord, because I can't believe we managed to make that happen. Moving allowed me the perfect opportunity to take an inventory, which I needed to do anyway. I'm getting ready to finalize my garden plans, and knowing how much we still have on the shelves will allow me to determine how much of a certain product I will need to plant in my garden to put up this fall. Thankfully, we still had quite a bit of several things, but unfortunately, we were running out of quite a few of others. I don't think we're quite going to make it with the green beans. But first up onto the shelf was bone broth. I had 27 quarts and 42 pints still left of bone broth. This is good because we recently got a hog and a portion of a beef, and I already turned most of the bones into bone broth. That means I won't have an opportunity in the near future to make more. So it's good that we're well stocked in this area. Pears is one of the items we are running low on, which is not good because my daughter loves them. Unfortunately, we're down to just 8 quarts of pears, which is not going to make us until the pear harvest, so we're going to have to try to stretch those with some things that we have more of. Peaches are another item that I was not excited to find how many we had left. Just 9 quarts, which again, my daughter loves these for breakfast and snacks. So we're going to have to try and stretch these with some of our other items like applesauce that we have a lot more of. Tomato juice is one of the items that we still have quite a bit of, which I wasn't surprised to find because we really don't use that much tomato juice throughout the year. I was also excited to find this because I have a lot of pasta sauce left, and I get most of my tomato juice from when I make my pasta sauce. I was still left with 23 quarts and 15 pints of tomato juice, which should be more than enough to get us through the next year. This was nice to cross off my list because now I don't have to can any of this fall, and I can save my tomatoes for making more ketchup and barbecue sauce. 2 big goals on my list for this next summer. We still have quite a few quarts of applesauce still on our shelves, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough to fill in the gaps where the peaches and pears aren't going to make it. That being said, I don't think that our 25 quarts are quite going to make it until we are ready to harvest apples and turn them into applesauce, but I certainly hope that I turn out to be wrong. Apple juice is something that we rarely ever use, so I do think that the 7 pints we have will be more than enough to last us, though it might be something that I need to put up more of this year as my daughter gets older. Apple pie filling is something that we don't use a lot of, but seeing that we still have 14 quarts on the shelves from 2 years ago, it's probably time that I start baking quite a few more apple pies. We still have 40 quarts of pasta sauce, so I won't be needing to put up quite as many jars this year, but it's good to know that I have plenty of this on hand because it is something that we use quite a bit. I had lots of people tell me how crazy I was for putting up almost 80 quarts of green beans this last summer. I gave away a few jars, but our family has gone through most of them, and we are going to run out before we reach time to be picking and canning green beans again. We only have 14 quarts left, and I'm going to have to start rationing them. Rotel seems to be one of those items for us that is feast or famine. We're either using a whole bunch or hardly any at all. But I still have 17 quarts, 12 pints, and 19 half pints, so it looks like I'll be looking for recipes that incorporate salsa and Rotel. I use the same recipe for salsa and rotel, and I just swap an 8-ounce jar of salsa for rotel in a recipe. It comes out to be about the same, and I haven't noticed a big difference in any of the recipes that I make. And I use the salsa in our frozen breakfast burritos. I only have 3 quarts of carrots left, but that is just fine because my family prefers it when I blanch and freeze them. I also only have 4 quarts of chicken left, but this is also fine because it's time to order chicken again, where I'll remove the breasts, the legs and thighs, and then I will roast the whole chickens and pluck off the meat that I can can. This makes the perfect quick meal or to throw in chicken noodle soup. I only have 3 2-quart jars and 3-quart jars left of pickles, which means I will certainly be through them by the time it is ready to start making pickles again this summer. I only have 8 quarts of diced tomatoes, but this is fine because this isn't something we use a lot of. I'll just be sure to restock these this year. Jalapeno jelly was something new I tried this year, and I think I have more than enough with 25 half pints. If you have ideas of how to use this up, please let me know in the comments. I also put hot sauce on the shelves, and I have 5 pints of that. Again, that should be more than enough for our family until I'm harvesting jalapenos again. I also have 3 pints of jalapenos, and I'm hoping these will last us, but I'm not sure. We have 11 quarts of tallow, and this I'm thinking should be more than enough for us, but I really don't know as I'm trying to switch out all of our olive and avocado oil to tallow as much as I possibly can. I also keep all of my bulk storage food buckets underneath my canning jars. I store rice, beans, noodles, flour, sugar, oats, and dried apples in these buckets. There was a few items I missed getting video of putting on the shelves, so I still have a half pint of mulberry jelly, which means I'll need to put up more of that this summer. I have 4 pints of black beans, which means it's time to put more of those in jars too, but I can do that at any time. I have 23 pints and 1/2 pint of strawberry jelly, which isn't surprising because I put strawberry jelly up just a couple of weeks ago. I still have 13 pints of ketchup, which should be more than enough to last our family until I have more put up this fall. With all of the canned goods on the shelves, it was time to go ahead and start labeling my shelves so that I knew where everything was, and so did the rest of my family. With everything organized, I have the pantry completely ready to grab and go for homemade from-scratch meals.